Hello and welcome to iLearn Review Day 5. You should be working on problems 44 through 53 today. And what this does is it talks about how to find slope. How to find slope from an equation, how to find slope from two ordered pairs, how to find slope from a graph. And so the first thing that you have to know is we're going to take a look at equations. And so we need to know that all equations are always written, or at least these equations are written in slope-intercept form, where it's y equals mx plus b, where m represents slope and b represents the y-intercept, which will come in handy tomorrow when we graph lines from equations. So the y-intercept is what b stands for. And so if you notice, when an equation is written y equals, slope is always the number right before. And so if we look at number 44, we can see that it says y equals x plus 4. But there's not a number right before x. And so what you really need to know is that when there isn't a number, there's always an expectation of 1. And so the slope of this line is 1. Looking at number 45, the slope of this line is negative 3/5. It's always going to be the number right in front of x when it's written y equals mx plus b. Now, when we find the slope from a set of ordered pairs, we're looking at the change in y, which is often the word change is often indicated with the triangle, the change in y over the change in x. You might know this as rise over run. As far as there is an equation that works for how to find slope when you're given 2 points. It is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what this does is it gives you a rise over a run. And so a lot of times students have trouble with identifying, well, which one is x2 and which one is y2. It actually doesn't matter which one it is. You just get to pick. So this is an x value, this is a y value, this is an x value, and this is a y value. You're going to pick which one you want to be 1 and which one you want to be 2. A lot of people just usually go 1, 1, 2, 2. And that's fine. Whatever it does, just make it a systematic process where you constantly do the same thing over and over again. And so the equation was y2, so 12, minus y1, which is 11, over negative 6, which is x2, minus negative 9. And again, if you're not sure how to add and subtract positive and negative numbers, you're always more than welcome to use Desmos Scientific Calculator, but you should be able to do this on your own. And so this is what slope is equal to, and we use the letter m to represent slope. And so 12 minus 11 is simply 1. Whenever you have, and then you have negative 6 minus negative 12. Whenever you have a minus negative, it turns into a plus positive. So negative 6 plus 9, because they have different signs, you subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. 9 minus 6 is 3. Because 9 is bigger than 6, it stays positive. And then we check to see if it can reduce. 1 over 3 is already reduced as far as it goes. So this is your answer, 1/3. Moving on to problem number 47. Again, same thing. Go ahead and label them. I'm going to label this one x1, this one y1, this one x2, this one y2. And so I should do slope is equal to y2, negative 18, minus y1, negative 19, over x2, negative 19, minus negative 2. And so, again, we have a minus negative, so it's going to turn into a plus positive. The signs are different, so you subtract 19 minus 18 is 1. 19 is bigger, so it's positive. We have a plus positive again situation. 19 minus 2 is 17, but this time the 19 is negative. So we are going to make the whole fraction negative. So in this case, we have negative 1 over 17. And again, it's already reduced, so this is your final answer. Moving on to problem number 48. Again, the same thing. You're going to label them x1, y1, x2, y2. So you'll have slope is equal to negative 18 minus 13, and then we're going to have 20 minus negative 10. And so this time we've got a negative minus a positive. And so I always like to change this subtraction to addition when I'm doing with negatives, because there's rules that I can follow that are easier. So I'm going to change this to plus negative. And so a negative plus a negative, you just add them. 18 plus 13 is 31, and it stays negative. And then we write that over. So then we have a minus negative again, so plus positive. 20 plus 10 is 30. Excuse me. And I honestly like to leave my fractions as improper fractions. I just think it's easier to look at when you're writing the equation. So this is actually reduced as far as it will go. So this is your slope for your 2 points. Looking at number 49, we're going to start the same way. x1, y1, x2, y2. And so then we have y2, negative 6, minus 14, over 2 minus negative 6. And so that's going to equal, again, I'm going to turn this into a plus negative. Negative 6 plus negative 14 is negative 20. We're going to change that to a plus positive. 2 plus 6 is 8. And so, but now I'm in a situation to where they're both even numbers, so I can definitely reduce. But they're also both divisible by 4, so I'm going to divide both by 4, and I'm going to get, if I divide this by 4, I get negative 5. If I divide this by 4, I get positive 2. And so our final slope is negative 5 over 2. Always try to reduce. It makes it easier when you go to have to graph from an equation. So finding slope from a line, this is probably one of the more common ways that you have to find slope. So the first thing that you got to do is recognize that this is where rise over run comes into play more often than not. So you're going from point to point. So in this case, the rise is 4. And the run is also 4. And then we have to check, is it going up or down? So just like you read a book, you read a graph from left to right. And so start on the left side, follow the line, and you'll notice that your fingers are moving up the graph. So that means it's going to be positive. So your slope of your line is actually going to reduce. So 4 over 4 is going to reduce to simply 1. So slope of this line is 1. Looking at number 51, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the rise first. So the rise in this case is 3. The run in this case is 1. And we can also see that, again, it reduces. So 3 over 1 reduces to simply 3. So slope, in this case, is 3. But you need to check left or right. If I follow the line, notice how my finger went down the graph. That means that my slope is actually negative. Moving on to number 52. Again, I'm going to check the rise first. So we're talking about all the way down to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll check the run, which is 1. And so we have a rise of 5, a run of 1, and again, from left to right, start at the left side, follow the line. It's going down, so our slope is negative. So slope is equal to negative 5 over 1, which if you reduce is simply negative 5. Negative 5. Looking at question 53, again, we're going to find the rise first. And so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to find so the rise is 6. And the run this time is 1, 2, 3, 4. Left to right, it is going up. So it's positive, but then we got 2 even numbers. So this is actually going to reduce to 3 over 2. And so your slope is simply 3/2. All right, that concludes today's iLearn review of how to find slope. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at how to graph a line from an equation. We will also look at systems of equations. So again, tomorrow we'll take a look at how to graph a line from an equation and then how to find the solution to systems of equations on a graph.